The world's worst kept secret is now out. Barnaby Joyce has joined One Nation. And I guess the question we need to be asking ourselves is big deal. Who cares? But I guess some people do. And I think the people that probably care the most are those that are part of the National Party, feeling somewhat betrayed by what Barnaby has done. Now, is this an opportunity for Barnaby to make a stand for the issues that matter to him, whatever they might be, particularly the fact that, he's a climate change denier. So there will be all focuses now on whether the climate will actually change according to anything the Australian government is doing. And you've got to admit that it probably won't according to that. But will it be a cheaper form of electricity, given that coal power stations are kind of at the end of their days? So, what actually is going to happen in relation to him joining One Nation? Not much. I guess much of Barnaby's way he presents and the bizarre ideas that he has and the fact that he's extreme right do fit more with One Nation than perhaps they do with the National Party and the Liberals in general. Now, in my view, that's probably a good thing that he has chosen to leave. But there again, this has always been about the fact that Barnaby wants to look after Barnaby. Is the most important person to Barnaby is himself. His narcissism flows through every vein in his body, and he is there to ensure that his interest and his interests alone, as opposed to the nation's, are more important than anyone else's. So it says this is what he has to say, and this only came out a few minutes ago, is remaining the Nationals was incongruous with giving his best, Joyce said. Well, he became irrelevant, basically, within the National Party. And frankly, my understanding is that there's not many people within the Nationals and the Liberals who actually liked Barnaby at all because of his attitude and the way he sort of presented himself, particularly those moments where he decided to lay on the pavements in Canberra drunk. Barnaby Joyce has also released a statement on his Facebook page justifying his decision to join One Nation, has an intention to run on the party's New South Wales Senate ticket at the next election. The former Deputy Prime Minister says Australia has eviscerated the nation's energy platform on a ludicrous quest to change the weather. It's not the point at all, Barnaby, but you don't get it, so I guess that's fair enough. We have fallen for the fallacy that you can have divergent objectives within a population, but a common purpose as a nation, Joyce says. In trying to remove any perceived offence to any we have, in part, succumbed to being embarrassed about who we are. We are not embarrassed about who we are. We are embarrassed by who you are, Barnaby. And I think that goes without saying, in a sense. The new English MP says it was no longer in a position to effect change in the Nationals, and that remaining in the party was incongruous with giving his best. I am firmly of the view, which I have considered over a long period of time, that the best choice before me is to stand for One Nation as a senator for New South Wales. I will let the voters be the ultimate arbiter of that decision. And Barnaby, they will be. And it may mean the end of you in politics. As a result, we'll wait and see as to whether or not this was a good decision or not. So it goes on to say in one of the news items as well, we intend to turn this country, this is Pauline Hanson, we intend to turn this country around to make it great again. So Pauline's focusing on Trumpism without actually having a look at the polls and realising that Trumpism isn't very popular. So Pauline, why the hell are you going back there again? What is it with you? Just like most on the right, they don't understand the writing on the wall and they don't know what to do about it. They don't know where to position themselves so that they can actually win votes. And Pauline's putting herself and Barnaby further to the right, that they'll become more and more irrelevant as time goes by. Pauline Hanson told Tamworth Radio that Barnaby Joyce was stifled by the nations and the Nationals and pushed to the backbench because they didn't want him. So true. I think now that with Barnaby on board with One Nation now, that we will push forward. We will hold both the Labor and the opposition to account You haven't been trying to do that over the last 30 years, Pauline. Has that been very successful for you? That's the question I want to ask you. We intend to turn this country around to make it great again. No, you won't. You'll just turn it into a basket case like the United States is. Joyce says, and how are you going to do that? What influence are you going to have? One particular seat. If he wins in New South Wales, that's one particular seat. Big deal. Joyce says it will be up to the people of New South Wales to determine whether he is worthy of being elected senator at the next election. If I'm given that opportunity by the people of New South Wales, then just like I have with everything I've done, including getting pissed and falling down on the pavement and coming into work drunk, I will fight tooth and claw to look after them, Joyce says. The former Deputy Prime Minister says he is philosophically aligned with One Nation and that he's not ashamed to be a Conservative. Well, I think you could be a Conservative and ashamed to be associated with One Nation. I think a lot of Conservatives would. And there is actually some talk now of Conservative politicians moving further and further to the right because they can't become more moderate, because then they become Labor light. So what's going to happen to them? Are they going to, what would it be like if a whole lot of the Liberals chose to move to One Nation? Where would that leave the Liberal Party? And Susan Ley, where would she find her leadership as a result of all of that? Who knows? The reality is the Liberal Party and the Nationals are a mess, and that moving to One Nation isn't necessarily going to help your cause at all. It's just going to divide you even further. I want you to subscribe to my channel, ring the bell for further notifications. Let me know what you generally think about all of this. Will Barnaby make a difference? Him becoming a senator again for One Nation, will that make a difference? Don't think so. But it is true, One Nation's vote has improved. I'll be talking more about that later on, so stay tuned for that one. But in the meantime, subscribe to my channel, ring the bell for further notifications. It costs you nothing. Take care, everybody.